Welcome dear students to another part of our class standard 9 subject English. The lesson 2, the sound of music. It has two parts. The first one is Evelyn Glennie listens to sound without hearing. So this part we will start today. The title itself is very clear that the main character Evelyn Glennie doesn't listen, and yet she has mastered the art of sound. Imagine. So here we will start with the lesson. The important points of the lesson are, it's a very inspirational lesson, and the points only will give you the general idea of what the lesson constitutes. At the age of 8, she becomes deaf. At the age of 11, her deafness deteriorates or decreases. Her hearing gets bad to worst. She joined a Royal Academy of Music at the age of 16 and scored the record marks in audition. In spite of her being a handicap and unable to hear, you can imagine music and hear what connection it has. And if one is not able to hear what is even one word or a sound or word or a sentence, you can imagine you can't interpret anything. Hearing is such an important sense organ, and yet she scored highest in the audition. Extraordinary. Percussionist Ron Forbes spotted the potentials in spite of the hearing deficiency. Percussionists are those who play drums and tablas. So here Ron Forbes spotted her potentials. Potentials means what ability or the capacity to do something that Evelyn had. So here Evelyn had the capacity to explore music, learn music, and that too without hearing. That was something, speciality that was to be explored by Ron Forbes. So what did Ron Forbes did? He made two drums with different tuning, and the big and the small drums. So when the big drum was there, Evelyn could not hear, but yet she was able to sense that to the upper part. When she heard the lower or the smaller drum, she was able to hear the lower part of her body. So sensation in her body she was able to hear, and that was something Ron Forbes encouraged Evelyn, that not able to hear, you have to garner or take help from other senses of your body that will help you to learn music. So that was something very important that Ron Forbes did. That was a turning point in her life, because she wanted to learn various musical instruments. She saw a girl and she wanted to learn that xylophone, and then that xylophone she could not learn. Early in the lesson also we see that there is spotting of this deafness by her mother. When she has been called by her mother, Isabel Glennie, she didn't hear, she didn't come, or she didn't move. So it was made clear to her that she has hearing problem. So that was happening at 8, and then at 11 she was found to be deteriorating. Her marks deteriorated. Marks also became decreasing in order. So when the marks deteriorates, the solution has to be made out by the school, and that the headmistress called her mother and told her that you have to get the help of an audiologist, a ear specialist. So, and it was then detected that a nerve cell, or the nerve which was a hearing nerve, which is responsible for getting your signals to the brain, interpretation of the brain, the signals that we hear, that was completely in disarray, and therefore she could not hear. It was detected that, and she was suggested that she should wear a hearing aid and go to the school for deaf. Though that was a great shock to her, and that world became in front of her a dark place for her. So here we can see that she is having great difficulty when she is actually having the difficulty of hearing, and then also she pursues that, and in that total pursuit of this music, she finds out different ways in which she can, or she will be able to develop this ability to learn more of the musical instruments. More of the instruments she learned, the more she became specialist. So 1,000 musical instruments she mastered. Imagine, without having the hearing capacity, she was able to master 1,000 instruments of percussions and others. And therefore, it's an extraordinary feat. And in spite of being that extraordinary feat, she says that, I'm not proud of it. She worked very hard for this, because she had to give some extra in order to gain this extra from the music. Then another thing that is noted over here, that after getting the basics right and learning a lot of instruments, having mastery of it, she toured UK with a youth orchestra group that you play concerts and all that, in that you should get a chance to play. That was done by Evelyn with the youth people who are in the musical group. Then she became the solo artist of the year, and by the age of 20, when she captured most of the top awards. So next 3 years after 17, when she joined the Royal Academy and got there and had gone there with this youth orchestra, then the solo performance she gave, that were outstanding, and therefore she was given the top awards in music that was available. Imagine a handicapped person, a basic requirement for sense of hearing she didn't have, and yet she got the top awards. Now, another drawback for these people who cannot hear is listening to someone speaking. If I'm speaking, you're not able to hear, then what you can gain through it? Earlier we saw that she could not score good in her school examinations, and her headmistress had to call her. The same thing when she conversed with people, she had problem. But here we see that when she talks with the writer continuous for 2 hours, she didn't miss a word. A word was not missed. Little bit of your distraction is there. You ask what you said, but here she cannot hear it, and yet from the facial expressions she came to know what the person was saying. So this was an extraordinary sense that she had to see the facial expressions, the eyes, the lip movement, the change in the face that was being done. All this was used by her to understand what the person next to was asking her or talking to her. So when the writer spoke to her, it was intriguing for her. Intriguing means amazing feeling from astonishment. Without hearing, this girl is able to speak so flawless. At that time, she laughs and says that I can read the facial expressions of normal people. For those who are having beard, whole beard covered, then the lip and everything gets covered with the beard. Those people I cannot, because the lip movement I cannot read, because they are not exposing this chin and the half of the face. So I cannot read their faces, and I cannot get the clear answer. or I cannot hear and respond to that type of people. She says in a light manner. In spite of a deafness, so here this point you have to remember, talked flawlessly without mistake, in spite of a deafness. Then managed to learn French and mastered basics of Japanese. Okay, she was able to hear till 11. So she understands that this particular, English word is spoken this way by people, by lip movement and the facial expression. But she managed to learn French and mastered basics of Japanese. So Japanese and these are foreign language to her French, and yet, being English woman, she was able to master that. But she didn't tell how she did. How she did, she doesn't tell. Here she gives an explanation that I had heard till 11 years, so I know. But what afterwards she managed to learn French and Japanese, how? She doesn't clear that. Again, she, as we saw that she was able to take help of the other sense organs. So here when she played xylophone or that, the finger, she sensed the music in her finger, sensation, tingling in her fingers. Then when she leaned across the drum, she was able to hear the beats and the musical vibrations, the resonance went totally in her body. She could feel with the chin and the facial face and other parts of her body, the sensation, the resonance of the music that was being, played around. When she was standing on a wooden platform while performing music concerts, at that time she was barefooted. She took off the shoes or whatever she was wearing. Why? Because that sensation on the wooden platform would give her the sense of music, and that way she was able to hear them. So here, moving further, in 1991 presented with the Royal Philharmonic Society's prestigious Soloist of the Year award. She got even Soloist of the Year. Imagine those people who are able to hear and master the classical music and all that. They were her competitors, and she being handicapped, she was given the Soloist of the Year award. That is something extraordinary for a handicapped person like Adeline, and that shows the potential, her ability of, her inspiration that helped deaf people. Master of 1,000 instruments, became the world-renowned percussionist, and most hectic schedule she had. Hectic means she didn't have time, She was a workaholic, always working. She could not be stopped from working, and world-renowned. She had a hectic schedule. Gives free concerts to prisons and hospitals. She has also humanitarian feeling also, that the people in prison and hospitals who are very depressed, those people can hear my music and get some relief. So she gives free concerts in that. Her mantra is very important, universal truth. If you work hard and know where you are going, you will get there. So here her mantra, if you follow, then also whatever field you are, whatever work you are doing, if you know what you are doing and you are putting your wholeheartedness into that, working with full efforts, then you are going to reach there. Evelyn said that. Not only that, you see Einstein and other people also. Einstein never said that I was a genius. He said, no, I am not a genius. It's a constant determination and the hard work that I put in on a daily basis that gives me this outcome of scientific and mathematical whatever discoveries and the combinations I get out of science. She was a great inspiration also for the deaf people. If deaf people saw, then they told that if she can do, why can't we? So that inspiration she gave, and that way Evelyn Glennie listens to sound without hearing is a very inspirational lesson. You have to write the question answers of this lesson and complete it in your fair book. So with this is the end of the session today. We shall continue with our subject on the next part of our class. Thank you.